done. Okay, so Tshepang, before you can say you understand maths, you should be understanding the types of problems that you are dealing with. So just a quick a summary of what we dealt with. So I was saying in maths, we are dealing with three things. What are those? The first one is a sign, the second one is a number, and then the other one is a letter. So normally maths contains two or three of these things. For example, if you just have two, how many maths signs do you see over there? You see an invisible positive there and you see a number there. If you have a letter being Y, you see a sign being positive, a invisible positive over there. You see a number there which is invisible 1, and you see a letter there being letter Y. So the moment you notice that you've got a sign, a number, and a letter, then you know it's a math problem. Remember, a sign could be a plus, minus, divided by, it's equals to, multiplication, brackets, less than or is equals to, greater than or is equals to, greater than, less than. All of these, these are the maths signs. Also a square root, and there are more signs. But for now, let's discuss up to that point. And then a number is just a number. It could be 0, -1, 2, 3, million, thousand, whatever. That is a number. The nice thing about a letter, Sepang, is that it's from A up to Z, whether in capital letters or in small letters. So the moment you see all of this, you know we are dealing with mathematics. So there's something called a term, so a term, it is actually something which is separated by a sign of a plus or a minus. It will make a perfect sense as we continue. So this is the format or the standard format of a term. So a term has got a sign followed by a number, followed by a letter, and a power. For example, if you can be given 2y, what is the sign there? The sign is invisible positive, which is that positive over there in that block. What is the coefficient? So the coefficient is a number, which is 2. What is the letter? The letter is letter Y. What is a power? A power is invisible 1 over there. So this is the standard format of what we call a term. So that means a term, it is made up of 1, 2, 3, 4, but it doesn't necessarily mean that always you're going to have 4 of this. You can just have a 2. So if it's a 2, it means it has a sign which is an invisible positive, a number is 2, no letter there, but a power, it's invisible 1. If you have -4, let's say p to the exponent 3, can you see? There it's a sign, a coefficient, a variable, and a power. So a letter, there, it is actually called a variable, and then a number, there, it is what we call a coefficient. And then this is just a sign which is either positive or minus. And then there you have a power which could be a positive power or a negative power. So after that, I've given you a few problems to just try to interpret. It wasn't really the problem types for you to solve. You don't need to solve over there. For example, the first one was 3a minus 4 is equals to a plus q. So here comes the question. Is this a maths problem? Yes, it's a maths problem. Why? Because it has a sign, a number, and a letter. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be one number, it's going to be one sign, it's going to be one letter. But as long as it has 3 of this, then you know there you have a term, and there you have a term. So that means on the left side of an equal sign, you've got two terms. On the right side, you also have a term. So can you see? That's why I was saying a term, it is separated by a sign of a plus or a minus. So let's try to interpret the first term. What is the sign of the first term? It's a plus. What is the coefficient? Is 3. What is the letter? It's A. What is the power? It's 1, which means this is a complete term. You have interpreted it. Let's move to the next one. What is a sign? It's a negative or a minus there. The coefficient is 4. No letter, no variable, but the power is an invisible 1 over there. So you have a sign again of an equal sign over there. And then here, you've got invisible positive sign, you've got invisible 1, you've got a letter being A, you've got a power of invisible 1 over there. And then this one, you've got a sign being a plus, an invisible 1 over there. The letter is Q, the power is invisible 1 over there. So I've given you some more problems to try and interpret. Does it make sense, Mwanamatlu? Wa kwishisha?
Yeah, okay, kushisha.
Yeah, kwala up to this point, ne?
Yes.
Okay, 100%. So for now, just make sure that you just pay attention to everything that I'm explaining. There's no need for you to cram all of this or try to understand everything at once. I'm going to share with you the notes that I did when I was preparing for this lesson so that you can practice at a later stage. And again, it is going to make a perfect sense when we interpret exam type of questions. So what I now want to talk about, Mwanamatlu, is the problem types or the types of problems. So in mathematics, we've got types of problems. Just like in vegetables, we've got types of vegetables. So you cannot plant different vegetables in the same way. You need to first understand the type of vegetable that you're dealing with. From there, even if it has a problem, you'll be in a better position to provide a solution to that problem because you understand its nature, you understand its problem. So I want to teach you now the types of maths problems that we have. So number Ian, we've got an equation. So I will talk more about an equation. And then number 2, we've got what we call inequality. I'm sure you're not hearing these words for the first time, Tsepang. We also have what we call an expression. Number 4, let me just talk about sums. So is there a word over there, Tsepang, that you're hearing for the first time?
No, I know them all.
Okay, 100%. So now let's talk all about the first one being an equation. So what is an equation, Mwanamatu? An equation, it simply has an equal sign. That's it. An equation has an equal sign. So as you can see, an equation, that word is closer to the name of that sign being an equal sign. It is as easy as that. So you just need to know that when we're dealing with an equation, it's a math problem that has an equal sign. So we have two types of equations. Let me try to do a do not disturb button over there. Okay, so we have two types of equations, Wanamatu. The first one is what we call a linear equation. The second one is what we call a quadratic equation. How do you notice a linear equation? That's when a letter is to the power of 1. And then a quadratic equation, that's when a letter it is to the power of 2. So I'm just going to give you examples so that it makes it easy to explain. Let me just bring some examples there. So you might be given something like, for example, 3p minus 4, it is equals to 7. So here comes a question, Manamatu. Is this an equation? Yes, it's an equation. Why? Because it has an equal sign. So that means the type of a problem that we're dealing with from that list, we refer to this as an equation. Why? Because it has an equal sign. Then, what type of an equation is it? Is it a linear or is it a quadratic equation? So you look at the letters. Can you see how many letters do we have there? You just have one letter. So you look at that letter. Does it have a power of 1 or 2? You can see it's a power of invisible 1. What does it mean, Wanamatu? It means this is a linear equation. So if it's a linear equation, this power of 1, it simply means when you solve for the unknown being p, you are just going to have one value of p. So if you had to solve this thing, obviously you know very well that you transpose, then you remain with 3p, it's equals to 7 minus, it's a plus 4, it changes the sign, so it's 3p, it's equals to what? What is this? I think this is 11. Because you're solving for p, you want to remove this 3, and you remove by dividing by exactly that, so that you remain with p. Remember, whatever you do on the left, you also do on the right. If you punch this on a calculator, it might just give you 11 over 3. So can you see? That means when you have a linear equation, you just have one answer, which is the value of your unknown over there. Before I go deeper, does it make sense there, Tsepa?
Yes, yes. It's just solve for X, ne?
No.
Oh,
It's
solve for
it's
P.
it's solve for the unknown. Say solve for the unknown. Ne.
Okay. Yeah.
So the unknown, Wanamatlo, is represented by a letter, which could be any letter from A up to Z. So in this case, examiner used letter P. Can you hear how we mathematically represent that?
Yes, I can.
100%. So let's try another example, being negative y plus k is equals to negative 1. You tell me, Mwanamatlu, is this a math problem?
Yes, it's a maths problem.
Why?
It has an equal sign,
Okay,
and
wait,
it
wait,
has
wait, wait, wait,
it.
wait, wait. So before we get to an equal sign, I'm just trying to connect my charger. That's why I'm a bit away from my mic. So when you interpret it, you'll say it's a math problem because it has a sign, a number, and a letter. That is the starting point.
Yes, yes.
Continue.
Oh yeah, it has a sign, letter,
Mhm,
and a number.
mhm.
Um. Okay. It's an The type of a problem is equation
100%. Why?
because it has an equal sign.
It has an equal sign. 100%. So now, um, what type of a math problem is it?
Equation
Why?
because of the equal sign.
Because of the equal sign. Okay, 100%. So now, in terms of the type of a problem, it's linear or quadratic. So what type of a
Okay.
problem is it?
It's the linear equation.
Why?
Um, it has what? How do I call this? That invisible one.
Yes, we can just say letters there have a power of invisible one. Ne?
Yes.
100%. So that means if you had to solve this, you were just going to have one value of each letter. So that means you're going to just have one value of y. Uh, Sorry, if you're also solving for k, it was just going to be one value for k. Makes sense?
Yes.
100%. So that means, in short, this is a math problem it has two terms on the left side of an equal sign, one term on the right. Because I see an equal sign over there, it means it's an equation. And the type of an equation is a linear equation. And most importantly, it is because I see the letters have got the power of invisible 1. I hope that makes perfect sense, Wanamato. So now let's try a different type of a problem. So let's say you've got something similar to that. Interpret this one, Wanamato.
It's a maths problem.
Mm-hmm,
It has a term. It
mm-hmm,
has the signs,
mm-hmm,
the letters,
mm-hmm,
and the power.
mm-hmm,
Okay, the type of a problem is equation,
mm-hmm.
and then the type of equation is quadratic equation because
So
of the
it's
equal sign.
quadratic equation
Sorry,
because of
because of the power is the power. Okay, the letter has a power of 2.
100%. So now, if you have a power of 2, Ngwanamato, it means your final answer is going to have two values of the unknown. What is the unknown in this case?
The unknown is letter X.
It's letter X. So that means you are going to have X is equals to whatever, or X is equals to whatever. Why are you having two values of X? It is because of that power of
The
2 over
power.
there. Yes, makes sense.
Yes.
Okay, so now um, a there's a special way in which we write a quadratic equation, Wanamato. The moment you are given a quadratic equation, you must rewrite it in the standard form. Name. So
Yes.
the standard form, you do know very well that is ax squared plus
Plus
bx
X
plus c,
plus C
it's equals
equals
to
to 0.
0, 100%. So that means if your a there is negative, you have to change it to become a positive name.
Yes.
Let me try my backup. It was actually load shedding. Okay, so
Okay.
now again, it means everything has to be equated to 0. If it's not equated to 0, you transpose until it is equated to 0. Agreed?
Yes.
Yes. So now, after you've written it in the standard form, you therefore need to find the factors or to factorize. Do you agree with me on that one?
Yes.
So obviously, can you see that you're going to have this equated to 0, that equated to 0, then you're going to have two values of the unknown, which could be y, it could be a, it could be t for Sepang, it could be m for Mato. Do you
Yes.
agree with me on that one?
Yes.
100%. So can we now move to another type of a problem? Tepi, tepi.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay, so let's have a look at what we call an inequality. An inequality is almost easy, 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 easy. Is there something that you know about an inequality?
About an inequality. Inequality is that
Yes.
one that has which I okay, how do I explain this one? It has to have an uh the square root.
Okay, so now I'm going to explain to you how do you notice an inequality. So always, 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 Manamato. The moment you see less than, greater than, less than or is equals to, greater than or is equals to, the moment you see this, it's an inequality. Name.
Okay. Oh yeah. What's that one with the square root?
So that
Like
one with the
it's
square
a
root is going to be Surds. We're going to get
okay.
to that one.
All right.
Why wanna know?
Yeah.
So that means always the moment you see this sign, you know you're dealing with an inequality. So you can have two types of inequalities. The first one being a linear, the second one being a quadratic. And you know very well how you notice a quadratic and how you notice a linear, isn't it?
Yes.
So the same thing applies also with this one. So you can have, for example, 2y less than maybe 7 plus y squared. So this is a math problem. Why? Because it has a sign of a plus. It has, not necessarily a sign. It has a sign, it has a number, it has a letter. And
Later.
again, the type of a problem, it's an inequality because of that
The
name.
sign.
So,
Yes.
yes. And again, because of a letter having a power of 2, then it's a quadratic
Quadratic
inequality.
equality.
Why one?
Yes.
So now that means because it's a quadratic type of a problem, you need to rewrite it in the standard form of ax squared plus bx plus c, then inequality sign 0 on the other side. Make sense?
Yes.
And the reason you do that is because you want to find the factors by opening the brackets, isn't it?
Yes. So wait. Um. With these ones, ne?
Mm.
When they cross over, I'm going to change the signs.
Eh, Okay, maybe let me give you a type of a problem that will maybe explain your question there. So it's more
Mm.
like, okay, let me answer it this way, Ngwanamatu. Always when your A is negative, that's when this sign changes. But if you transpose, it doesn't change.
Okay.
So
But okay. I can I can move the 2y that
mm,
side, and then
that sign,
carry 0
yes.
is greater again. Is this sign, is it a greater or less than?
Can I help you to cram it such that you will never forget even when you are a granny?
Okay.
O ngwala ka letsohole le fe?
Right.
Letsoho la hao la ba le matla ke le lefe?
Right.
Okay, so o tlo koba letsoho la hao la left so, wa koba la hao la right so. O tlo dia something like this. Are,
Okay.
edi, we did.
Yeah.
So between sign ye le ke e fe e le reng e bonala o ka reng ke ya left, ke e fe e le reng e bonala o ka re ke ya right.
Number 1
Mm.
should be left. Then
And
number
then number
2,
2 ke right.
yes.
So between left le right, which one is greater in energy?
2.
So ko ra ring this sign ke greater than. So
Okay.
this one it's less in energy, isn't it?
Yes.
So ko ra ring this sign e ra ring less
Less than.
than. So
Okay.
which sign is this one?
It's less than.
So wa bona hore o tlo ba tsofala ka so lebetse o reng greater ke efe less ke efe. Wa e bona ngwana matou?
Yeah.
So that means you will never ever ever ask me which sign is this one, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, so same thing applies over there. It will be less than or is equals to, it will be greater than or is equals to. Why one?
Mm.
So let's see. That means if you write it in the standard form, you can still transpose and then you say 0 less than. You've got what? Y squared
Y
and then minus
squared
2y
minus
plus
2y
7.
plus 7.
100%. So this thing, Wanamatlu, this thing, what what were you saying there? So it's more like now, let's say for example you transpose. If you want to write it nicely, let's say you transpose, you have negative y squared, and then you transpose, you have positive
Plus
2y, you
2y
transpose, you
minus
have negative
7.
that, and then it's less than, you transpose, negative 0 is just 0, isn't it?
Okay.
So what I was saying is that always if you have a negative a, you change the signs of everything, isn't it?
Yes.
So that means you're going to
It's
change
gonna
this
be
one to
right.
be positive. Yes, it's
But
either you say you divide or you change signs. Same
okay.
thing. So for me, I say I change the signs. You can also say you divide. It makes no difference. Nay.
Mm.
Okay, let's change all the signs. We changed the first one, isn't it?
Yes.
Let's change this one to be negative 2y. We change
Plus
this one
7.
to be positive 7. This thing, is it a sign?
Yes, it's a sign.
So we change it to its opposite. Obviously, the opposite of minus is a plus. The opposite of a plus is a minus. What is the opposite of this one?
Greater.
100%. So this is why I was saying when you have a, you change the sign of every term or every sign there. So this is a sign you change, this is a sign you change, this is a sign you change, this is a sign you change. This one, negative 0 and positive 0, all of them is just 0. Okay.
Okay.
Are you happy there?
Yes.
Okay. 100%. So now let's try to move um let's try to move I think we can move on because you have understood all that I wanted to explain regarding an inequality. But let me just explain to you this part. So let's say you are given something similar to that, or maybe you work it out until you write it in the standard form. Nah. So
Mm.
what you do obviously is to find the factors there, isn't it?
Yes.
After
But I
find,
was
let's say,
advised to use quadratic here
mhm.
because factoring out can be, yes,
Yes, if it's
yes,
tricky,
it
you
takes.
can use quadratic, but if it's doable, you can just use your head, isn't it?
Yes.
Let's say for some reason this one it was possible to factorize. I'll just give an example. Let's say maybe it
Mm.
was plus 7 there, and then it was k minus 10 there. So because of we are dealing with an inequality, you after this step, what you're finding is what we call the critical values.
Yes.
So the
Mm.
critical values, that's when you say k, this thing, you equate it to 0 and then you solve for a k being negative 7.
7.
Then you can say, oh, k is equals to positive 10.
10.
So when you're dealing with inequalities, you are only allowed to equate when you get to this step, and we call these two critical values. Make sense?
Yes. And
And
then,
then from there,
no, you can carry on.
and then from here, you represent your critical values on a number line, isn't it?
Yes.
Which one comes first?
Negative 7.
Negative 7, and then you have 10 over there, isn't it?
Yes.
So, if you have greater than, it is just a circle which is unshaded. If it's less than, it is
Yes.
just a circle. But if it's, you know very well, nay.
Yes.
Okay, so here we're just going to have a circle and a circle, isn't it?
Yes.
And if you have greater than, you always have arrows in those directions, isn't it?
Yes.
If it was less than, so you're going to have a circle, and then you have combined a what do you call
Oh, so
there?
it can be combined.
Yes, it can be combined. It depends
Okay.
on the sign there. So if it's less than, then you have them combined. But if it's greater than, you have them uh, facing opposite directions.
Okay.
So now you finally say, can you see this arrow where it is pointing?
Yes.
You take it as it is. You just say unknown. And then you take that arrow as it is, and then you say negative 7. Then you say, or k, you take the arrow as it is, it's in that direction, and you just say 10. Then you go home smiling with full marks.
Okay. Now this one I
Okay,
didn't know.
okay, okay. So, why tshwara nomos?
Yeah,
Okay, so for
definitely.
some reason, let's say it was less than over there. Let's try to check how it would look like if it was a less than name. So if it's a less than, then it means you represent it on a number line name. It is going to be that and that, obviously negative 7 and also 10 over there. I want. So
Mm.
a, it is a combined line because of it is less than the name.
Yes.
So this is where you just say k and then you do less than, less than. Then you just write -7, you write 10. So it's more
10.
like you're saying k is between -7 and 10. That's how you mathematically explain it.
All right.
But if it is in the opposite arrows, I've always cramped it to say the unknown, you take the arrow as it is and then you write that first value. The unknown could be x, whatever the arrow, and then whatever the critical value. But if it is less than and you have this combined, you just use this format where you say the unknown less than, and then you write the critical values. Make sense?
Yes.
So ona ring ka metse a re raloke ko ke. So you just need to understand the basics, and these are the basics, so you can be able to solve any type of a math problem. I want.
Yes. But then
So
there's paper too.
then this paper two, the same applies in terms of approach, Kokes. It's only that why do I keep on saying but tell me, Tsepang, what is your other short name? Do you have a shortened name or
Liz.
oh, Liz? Yeah, no, essentially, ke update lebitso la how to Lisbeth to Bahal. Let's give me some.
Yeah, Mara, lona
Uh,
ke Liz,
na,
like ke Liz le feletse.
no, Lisbeth. Ba tshabile ho botsa hore o Lisbeth. Lebitso la hao le
Oh,
feletse kaofela. Okay, so now let's move to another type of a problem which is being called an expression. So at this point, you do understand what is an equation and what is an inequality, isn't it?
equality. Yes.
Yeah, so let's now focus on what we call an expression. What is an expression? Easy, easy, easy. It has no equal sign. So with an equation, you know it has an equal sign. With inequality, it has less than, greater, less than or is equals to, greater than is equals to. Do you agree?
Yes.
But when it comes to an expression, it has no equal sign. And again, it's a math problem. Why? Because it has a sign, a number, and a letter. So when you have an equation, you solve name, you
Mm.
solve for the unknown. But when you have an expression, you simplify. We don't say we solve. There's nothing to
Oh.
solve, but we simplify. So it's more like you are given something which is either complicated or it's long, and you just need to rewrite it in its shortest or simplest form. Does it
Oh.
make sense?
Yes.
So let's see, we've got 2k plus 4 minus t minus 7k. So here comes a question, Liz. So is this a math problem? Yes. Why? Because I see a sign, I see a number, I see a letter. What type of a math problem is it? Is it an equation? Is it an inequality? Is it an expression? Or is it a sort? So because I don't see an equal sign, it means it's an expression. Okay, now that is an expression, what do? I simplify. So it's more like I have to rewrite this thing in its simplest form. So for this type of a problem, you won't find it in metric. Normally, it's in grade 10. So how do you
Mm.
simplify? Can you see the like terms? Can you see we have 2k there
2K
and
and
we have
7K.
7k there? Yeah,
Yes.
so 2 minus that, it ends up being minus 5k. Can you see?
5K.
4 is just a
Yes.
number, you can't work it out, and then you have t there. Then it ends there. Can you see? You have simplified it from that state of complicated or long to its simplest form. Does it make sense there, Ngwanamato?
Yes.
Okay, let me give you this one, and we'll check if we can be able to interpret it. Is this a math problem? Yes.
Yes.
Why? Because I see a sign, I see a number, I see a letter. Is it an equation? Is it an
No.
inequality? Is it an
No.
expression? Is it a sort?
Yes.
Why are you
It's
saying it's an
an
expression?
expression. It doesn't have the equal sign.
It doesn't have equal sign, it doesn't have an
Have
inequality sign,
the
isn't it?
inequality sign. Yes.
So what do we do when we're given an expression?
We simplify.
100%. So can we simplify this one?
Yes.
What do we do?
We look at the like terms
Mm-hmm.
and then we add or subtract.
100%. So what are we doing? We can work out this and that, isn't it?
Yes. Okay.
Seven,
It's
eight,
gonna
nine.
we are going to add.
Easy. Easy. Easy.
Yeah.
Wa o ka re o nyaka go ikgatelela na, ngwana motho? Eh, Okay, so the last example under expression, we have 4 to the exponent p minus 1 multiplied by 2 to the exponent that over 16 to the exponent 3p times 8 to the exponent minus p. Here comes a question, Ngwanamato. Is this a math problem? Yes, I see a
Yes.
sign, a number, and a letter. What type of a problem is this? Is it an equation? Is it an inequality? Is it an expression? Is it a sum? So we can just
It's
make a
an
conclusion to say
expression.
it's an expression because it doesn't have an equal sign, it doesn't have an inequality sign. So what do we do when we're given an expression, Wanamato? What do we do?
We simplify.
We simplify. So in this case, can you see this type of a math problem? It's an exponential type of a problem. How do you see it's an exponential type of a problem? That's if, Wanamato, you have your power being a variable or your power being a letter, which could be any
Mm.
letter from A up to Z. That's when you know you're dealing with um, an exponent, and I mean an exponential type of a problem. Makes sense?
Yes. Yes.
So that means when you have, let's say, a j to the exponent 4, this is not an exponential problem because the power is a number and not a letter. So if it was a 4 to the exponent k, then it's an exponential type of a math problem. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so now this type of a problem, it means you need to apply exponential laws, of which is something that I should teach you on our next lesson. So once we get to our next lesson, Wanamato, and we um, deal with laws of exponents, then from there we can, with confidence, solve exam type of problems. So for today's lesson, I'm just taking you through the introduction of what is mathematics. Make sense there, Manamato?
Yes.
Okay, quickly, let's talk about the Surds. So Surds is number 4. So in short, Manamato, the moment you see a square root, just know you're dealing with Surds. Ne.
Okay.
So such also the same explanation applies. A sign, a number, and a letter. So you will get to a point where you need to work out the sets up until you are able to tell whether it's a linear type of a problem or a quadratic type of a problem. And otherwise, it could still be a linear. You know very well that the moment you see this, it's an inequality. So I mean, it's an inequality, which could be a
Hmm.
linear inequality or a quadratic
Quadratic.
inequality. Also, you might have a sad type of a problem within or under an expression where you need to simplify it. Make sense there?
Yes.
Okay, this is what you're given over there, Manamatlo. So, um, now you might need to go deep in terms of explaining this one. Yes, it's a math problem. I see a sign, a number, and a letter. What is the letter in this case? It's letter X. So remember,
X.
letters of A up to Z, we call these things unknowns name. So that means
Yes.
in this case, the unknown is letter X. So
X.
because of the square root, it makes it a sub name.
Yes.
Then, Wanamatlo, is it an equation?
Yes.
Why?
It has the that equation equal sign.
Yeah, so it
But
doesn't
this one
matter
is
whether
different.
it's a SAT. Yeah, so
Okay.
so it's more like a SAT. Let's say SAT is a square root. Let's just maybe for now conclude to say SAT it simply means square root. Nah.
Yes.
So it can be a SAT and still be an equation or be an
An
inequality
equation.
or be an
Okay.
expression. Why one?
Yes.
So that means when you're dealing with a SAT, you just need to make sure that you have a square root as a single term on the either on one side of the equal sign. Let me put it that way. So can you see here? You've got one term over there. You have a term on the other side. So
Yes.
when you're dealing with SATs, you just want to have one term that has a square root on one side of an equal sign. How do you do that, Wanamato? So that means you need to move everything away. What are you moving there, Manamato?
I'm going to move uh, the -3. I'm going to move it to the other side.
100%. So that you remain with this square root. So it becomes x plus 3, isn't it?
3. Yes.
So
And
the
then,
reason why you moved it is because you want to deal with this one. You want to deal with it nicely by one.
yes. Yes.
So it's not always where you're going to have invisible 1 there, Manamatlo. It could be 3 there, nay.
Yes.
So this 3, you don't need to remove it because when we're dealing with SATs, we just want to have one term that is a square root on the other side of an equation. Can you see?
Yes.
So you just leave it there. I heard you wanted to say we introduce a squared there on both sides, isn't it?
Yes.
So this squared, it powers that 3 and again it removes this.
The square root.
Yeah. So that means you have 9 into x
X
plus
plus
uh,
2.
2 is equal. So now can you see, because of that power of 2, it means already this is a quadratic equation. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Then if you have a quadratic equation, you know very well that you need to work it out until it's in the standard form. Nay.
Yes.
So once it's in the standard form, you factorize. And because of this thing is to the power of 2, it means you are going to have two values of the unknown. You remember, Mos?
Yes.
So, Manamato, this is all that I wanted us to discuss regarding a the lesson for today. So let me just give you a last example, then I'm going to interpret it. And then from there, I'm going to open one question paper, then we'll interpret it. I'm telling you, you will now notice the difference to say the reason why we struggle in maths is because we don't understand what is maths. We don't understand the type of problems that we are dealing with. So let's see, Manamatlo. This thing is a math problem, and again, it's an equation because I see an equal sign, and again, it has a square root. So that means it seems it has a component of a SAT, so I might need to deal with that square root. What do we do when we have SATs? You just want to have one term that has a square root on one side of the equal sign. Do we have one term here?
Yes.
So can you see, once you have one term, that's when you introduce a squared on both sides. Make sense?
Yes.
So that means, okay, here, let's say you have a two of the same thing being that. It's equals to. So can you see there, Manamatlo, you have invisible 1 over there. Do you agree?
Where? Yes.
So when you have a square root, you have invisible 1 over there. Otherwise, it can be 2 square root. So you always have invisible something there. Make sense?
Yes.
If it's nothing, it's invisible 1. Just like the power there. If it's nothing, then it's invisible 1. Unless if they say y to the power 3. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so this 2, it squares that invisible 1, which is 1 to the power of 2 is just 1. It also removes that. Therefore, you just remain with invisible 1y. Make sense?
Yes.
So that means every time when you have a letter, it could be P, you just know that you have a sign. You have invisible 1, you have letter P, and you have invisible positive 1 of a power. What is this? This is what we call a complete format of a term. You remember, Mos?
Yes.
100. That's why sometimes you just have negative P. So can you see what is this negative for? It's for that invisible 1 over there. A
One.
letter is just
And
a letter. Make sense?
yes. Yes.
Okay, so can you see? Now you times that by that, you end up having y squared, and because of
Y
this,
squared.
it makes it a quadratic equation, which means you are going to have two values of the unknown being y. So that's all that I wanted to explain with regards to this one. I'm not sure if it makes perfect sense what I've explained over there.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay,
Makes
so
sense.
now I'm going to try and quickly open um one question paper over there. I'm just not sure if you'll be able to see everything there, Manamatlo. I'm just not sure. Can you see there?
Yeah, I can see.
Okay, let me just try to open the recent question. You're in grade 12, isn't it? So I'll just open um a maths question paper over there. I think. Okay, let me do this. Can you see these problems, Ngwanamatlo?
Yes.
Okay, let's try to interpret the first one. I think I might need to get a. Let me just get my a pen, but just make sure to have a look at those, and then where's oh no, I think it's here. So wa bona gore ngwana matlo no a di sa tshosha no o kgona o ba le idea ya gore o tlo di bereka jwang, isn't it?
Yes.
So I think just to make sure that I don't run out of time, Ramato, let me just interpret them for you. You'll just let me know if everything makes perfect sense. Let's see. Okay, the first one, I'm going to say this is an equation because I see an equal sign over there.
Equal
And
sign.
because of that squared, it makes it a quadratic
Quadratic
equation.
equation.
Yes. Here comes the question. Is it in the standard form? Yes. Why?
Yes.
Because A is positive and then everything is equated to zero. Do you agree?
Yes.
So now it means you can just straight away find the factors by using whatever method you like using the quadratic thing. Then you find the
Yes.
factors. Then you just score yourself full marks. I think it's 3 marks. Makes sense.
Yes.
So can you see that you can confidently solve a math problem if you understand the type of a problem that you're dealing with?
Yes.
All right, let's now move to the next one. So can you see this is an equation because of that equal sign, and
Equal
because
sign.
of that power, it is a quadratic. Nay,
Quadratic equation.
yes. So is it in the standard form?
Yes.
Why?
The A is positive, and then we have the B, and then the C.
And most importantly, for it to be in the standard form, that's if on the right it's equated to zero. Nay.
Yes.
So you know very well that when you're dealing with a quadratic equation, what do? You find the factors, isn't it?
Yes. Mara, this one now is going to
But
require us to use the quadratic since it's saying correct to two decimal place.
100%. So I want to make you aware of something, Wanamatlo. So
Okay.
the explanation doesn't change. You always say when you have a quadratic equation, you find the factors. So the reason why you use this is because you cannot find the factors using your head because they are in a form of a decimal. Does it make sense?
Yes.
So that is why you end up using a quadratic formula. So this thing, it serves as a hint to say correct to two decimal places. Then you know that um, you cannot easily find the factors because they are in a form of a decimal. So if
Decimal.
there's someone on earth who's intelligent, they can still use their head to find
Yes.
the final answers. But to score full marks, they will still need to show those steps when they use that formula. Does it make
Mm.
sense there, Manamato?
Yes.
So, in short, I'm trying to explain to you that in maths, when we explain the type of a problem, we don't take shortcuts. We explain it as it is, but because of problems are different, then you need to therefore understand why are we. Do you now understand why we use this formula and not a just write the factors?
Yes.
It's because the factors are in a form of a decimal, and it's not easy to find factors which are in a form of a decimal. That's why we use this formula. Name. Do you
Yes.
know where is
Yes.
this formula coming from, Monamato?
The quadratic.
Yes.
Not really. I just know that we have the quadratic equation.
Okay. What is this one, Amatlo? Ax squared plus bx plus c is equals to 0. This is the standard form of a quadratic equation. Do you agree?
Yes.
So they used this thing to make x the subject of the formula. And when they do that, they end up having x is equals to negative b plus or minus square
The
root of
square
b
of
squared
b
minus
squared
4
minus 4ac
ac all
over
over
2a.
2a. Can you see? You have a there. It is that a. It comes from there. You have b there. It comes from that b. You have a,
Okay.
that same a. You have c, that same c over there. Where is x? Can you see there is x?
Yes.
Which is that x over there? Where is equal to?
Okay.
There it is, that is equals to there. So they derived this, not really derived, they actually solved for x from that, and then they end up having x is equals to all of that. That is why always you only use this formula on a quadratic equation and not on a linear equation. So that is why you still get the correct answers when you find the factors there. It is because this is in the standard form and it's a quadratic equation, and it was derived from that to form this formula. That's why you use this formula to find the factors, and again to find the factors in a form of a decimal. Does it make sense there, Ngwanamato?
Okay.
O nkgenkgelela distinction or nkgenkgelela ke nna monna? Mm,
tsa distinction le tsona maybe
o
ka
boima.
di-subject tse dingwe.
Se solo ke bophelo.
Mm.
Okay, o fetša o nyaka go studisa eng?
Hey, at the moment,
No
at
maine.
the moment, yeah, at the moment, I'm just going for anything.
No maine.
Yeah.
Okay, no, it's fine. There will be a stage where I do a career exhibition mentorship where I guide you guys in terms of how to choose a career, advice, motivation, and everything, just so that you've got an idea of what you want to do. But I can promise you, Manamatlo, if you can make sure that you don't miss any of my lessons and you stick with me until the end of the year, you will gain some confidence when it comes to mathematics. I'm sure you can notice that I don't teach the same way in which they teach in school. Would you agree with me on that one?
Yes.
So it's because I learned these things by myself. I just used classes in class as extra classes, but I had to learn these things by myself. So I know all the problems associated with maths, and I know how you guys make some mistakes and everything. That's why I'm able to explain all of these things. So, uh, let's see. The third one, what are we dealing with there?
Okay, can you pull it closer? It's an inequality, this one.
It's an inequality. Ne?
Yes.
That sign, what is that sign? Is it greater or is it less than?
It's greater.
So, wa bona hore ya thuša ntula matsoela.
Yes.
Okay, so because of that, then already we notice it's a quadratic, isn't it?
Quadratic, yes.
Then you are going to transpose, write it in the standard form, and then you find the critical values. And if your final answer, it ends up having that greater than there, then you know how to work it out, isn't it?
Yes.
So ona reng lo
Yes.
tša di tshwenye re no ba re di fa maatla re di a tshwenya ngwana mato.
Yeah, just that sometimes ish.
Mm.
Yes.
Mara no wa di bona no.
Yeah, Jackie Astorne di bothata so mara like
Mm.
yeah, unthushitse somewhere. Mara
Because
So
body function so.
yeah.
So the reason why ke thomile ka this lesson ngwana matlo is because that is the foundation. So even if,
Yes.
for example, you say functions are difficult, the reason why they're difficult is because sometimes you get confused of how to approach functions, and at the same time you easily make mistakes on a calculations and whatever. Can you see? So it's actually all about how do you interpret a math problem. Once you know how to interpret it, then you know what to expect. Why one?
Mm,
So
yes.
I'm telling you, after this lesson, I will need to take you through exponential laws. And then from there, I will say we've covered all that we needed to cover regarding the basics. Then from there, you can tell me if we move to whatever chapter that I've already done, which could be functions, it could be exponential. I just have the notes. I haven't actually presented it, but I'm going to do a lesson where I present it and I'm going to play it to you and also share with you the notes and everything. Then we'll just continue until we push as much as possible. Ne? So, Wanamato, this one, waibona leona mos.
Yes. Yes.
So wa bona re easy se ke fedile ntwe re a re ska ikgatella or re nyako ikgatella
No, not really.
a re ska ikgatella. So this one wa bona ngwana mato.
Mm.
So wa bona reng examiner botlhale o fa a linear equation there a fetša go betha ka quadratic mole wa e bona
Quadratic. Yes. Yes.
and wena wa tseba goreng he le so o nyako no dia fela that one variable the subject of the formula
The
wa e bona
subject. Yes. Yes.
and we diela goreng o tletle o e substitute kwale nyere
Mm. Mm.
and because of wa bona gore ngwana le squared over there yo botsa goreng o tlo ba le two unknowns wa e bona
Yes.
so o nyako ikgatelela mo
Now I can work them out on my own just to see.
yes or o
Yes.
tlo fitlha kae wa e bona
Yes.
so normally before ngwala exam ngwana matlou a o solve dilo tše o di interpreta the way ko bontšhang ka tšona otherwise o ka re wa solve o tlo senya nako wa e bona
Okay. Mm.
so you don't have to perform all the you just know that this is whatever this is how you do it and you expect
Mm.
this then you are done you move to the next one this is how you do it whatever because of that this one this is
Mm.
whatever this one whatever this one so someone tla ba sa le busy a re ke a solve ke puncha calculator kry tšere 2 hours a solve a question by that time when o tla ko di functions go feditše ka di-sequence and series wa e bona
Mm.
so
Mm.
so he o yo ngwala exam ao ke tlo dia another lesson ya bontšha gore o studiša jwang ho yo ngwala exam you don't have to do all of this during the year and then towards
Mm.
exams you just talk to yourself or go diang 1 hour go studies question paper ka ofela o feditše o lata ya the next year le yona o dia the same ye o hakantšhang
Mm.
then o checka memo wa bona gore o e diwa so le yona wa e tlhalosa easy o tlo no bona e ba ngwala wena ntse o smile ba sa kutse gore ga nna motho o botsebotse bothata ba ekeng a nnela o smile examiner ba tla mo wena rena le tša botse ka motlhonse se a o no mmotsa botse wa rao easy tlo bona ane ya gore distinctions e nyenyeng ra ya gapeletša ngwana matou so this one 1.3 ke mo e le goreng ba o le ka tlhaloganyo mo so examiner always bring a very interesting question or a tricky question ke mo e le goreng this is an exponent type of a problem wa e bona
Mm.
so wa bona gore ke mola o tlo dila ka di-base o ka di kry-le re santšhe o dile ka base ela o dile ka base so ko ra gore ka mo o ka checka gore maybe o ka simplifya jwang that 24 or e be le base ya 3 e be le base ya eng ya 2
Yeah.
wa e
Too.
bona
Mm.
then wa equator ye ka base ya yona wa equator ye ka base ya yona wa solver the-exponents easy
Okay.
wa e bona
Yeah. Now I see the light there.
so
Like
so
now 1.3.
So wa bona re se ke ka tlhaloganyo ntho ela wa bona. So ngwana mato, this brings us to the end of our lesson for today, and I hope you enjoyed as much as I did. And for that reason, I would like to ask if you've got any question before I close today's lesson.
No, I have no question. I
Happy,
understood.
happy, happy, happy.
Yes.
Okay, so next weekend another lesson. So e re ke confirm pele. So kana malume wa ke ma Mr. Jan ne.
Yes.
So or file go ahead ya re di lesson ne. Okay, no, then it's fine. No, ne ke nya go re confirm le yena o reng cause sale ke no mmotsa fela ke reng we're going to have our first lesson, and then from there o tla mo fa feedback if we happy ka teaching style ya, and then from there if o mo confirmela, then from there it serves as a confirmation ya ring you are now registered as one of my learners for Monfry lessons and weekend lessons. Do you know what is Monfry weekend lessons, Ngwana Mato?
Yes.
Yes. So wena bolela le yena from there o mfa feedback ya ring o a confirma or kwenzakala ne.
Yes.
Okay, sharp ne.
Okay.
Sharp. Bye.
Bye.